happened, when those conversations started, and what that adds?
Well, I think Chris and I were having dinner. It's because I'm working out here. I apologize. So, and I'm drinking hot coffee. Smartest guy in the world. Chris and I had talked, a couple summers ago. We were having dinner. He was in for the summer league, and I was out recruiting. So we were having dinner and just kind of talking about things. And I'd always told him, I said, look, if this NBA thing doesn't work out, I'd love to have you back in some capacity, some form. And a few months later, they got let go there in Sacramento. Last year, being the D-League coach was a great thing for Chris. I mean, he loved it. But when the opportunity arose and Jeff got involved, I talked to him, and he said, without a doubt, I'll be back. Just let me know.
So what sort of impact does it make on the program, adding a guy like that back to the rotation and having him on your staff?
Well, I think first and foremost with Chris, I love him as a person. I love the fact that his appreciation for this university is second to none. And this place being successful means a great deal to him. I think that you go to school here, you play here, you meet your wife here, all those things go in, and then you look at the basketball side of things. I think from Chris as a player, being an NBA world champion, playing overseas, coaching at a lot of different places. He's been an NBA head coach for like 28 games. Those are things that he kind of brings to the table, and just in terms of his basketball knowledge, his intensity, and he's in great shape and probably could start for us next year if we had to.
Now, do you know yet how maybe the division of labor, if you want to call it that, sort of splits up now between your assistants now that Jeff is gone and Chris is in? Do things change at all?
Yeah, you know what? I haven't got that far yet. I think once Chris gets in and gets back in, comes in tomorrow morning, and we're putting right on the road recruiting. But once we sit down on Monday as a staff and just kind of regroup and take a look at things, we'll start divvying all that up.
In terms of recruiting, did you guys were able to get out on the road this past weekend, and yourself and Dave and Greg, I suppose, got out?
Yeah.
Got some things accomplished. Were you pretty happy with how last weekend went, I guess?
Yeah, no question. And we got one more weekend. This is the last weekend. Not that I'm looking forward to it, but we're done off the road. We've been gone Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday of this week. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday we've been on the road. And we'll do final evaluations or whatever this weekend. But we've also got an official visit this weekend with CJ, and so I'm kind of in and out that sort of thing.
Ohio, are you making that more of a emphasis in the Midwest? I mean, after, for lack of a better term, Texas and Georgia and some of these other places not working out maybe as well, right. Are you trying to get back to the Midwest roots with guys, or what do you think?
Well, I think that without a doubt we would love to do that. I think that a lot of times there's a lot more that goes into it than just a real good basketball player in terms of kids in the Midwest. I think sometimes people forget the academic standards that we have at this university is probably as high, if not higher, than anybody in the Big Ten, and I like that about it. Average ACT score for the freshman class this year is a 29. So there's dynamics in terms of that we have to. It's not always as easy as people think it is to recruit our own state, but we've had some great players from the state of Ohio. We've had some great players from the Midwest, and hopefully we can continue to do that.
Back to Chris for a second. In your discussions with him, I would guess that recruiting is the one thing he hasn't done a ton of. I mean, maybe when he was here, I don't know. What did you talk about with that? I assume he's confident he can do it, but is that the area he maybe needs to grow in?
Chris was here. I mean, the one player that he would kind of spearhead in recruiting was a kid named Jayshawn Tate, and that one has worked out really, really well for us. But I think from this, and you guys know Chris, he's a very personable, very intellectual person. You just look at the experiences that he's had in terms of all the people he's dealt with, and I think recruiting a lot of time is establishing relationships. It's being able to listen on a phone conversation and hear what they're saying without saying it, those types of things. And I don't want to say common sense, it's not that. But then there comes the work ethic and putting in the effort to, do the best that you can to get the kid. But I think from that regard, Chris will be in really good shape. He did a phenomenal job when he was here in terms of getting us in on kids, some East Coast kids. Did a really good job in Ohio, and Chris has that personality that you like to be around him.
Dad, you guys made the signing of C.J. Jackson official yesterday. How important was getting a guy like that and to add point guard depth, and what do you see his role?
Yeah,
be?
well, very excited to get C.J. I think from the standpoint of he's an older kid. I love the fact that he played for his dad in high school. He was at Mount Verde for 1 year. Going to the junior college, anybody that can make 100 threes in a season is pretty special. He can definitely shoot the basketball. Tremendous young man. I like the fact that, he comes out of Mount Verde and commits to George Mason, and there was a coaching change. He says, you know what, I'm going to take the hard road, the long road. I'm going to go to junior college for a year and see if I can't put myself in a better position. To his credit, he did that. I mean, he had a phenomenal season. His team had a great year, made it to Hutch, and it was funny when Dave went down to see him, talked to him, and he called me and he says, look, you're supposed to call this kid at 8 o'clock tonight. I'm not going to tell you anything. And talking to CJ on the phone, I mean, just a tremendous young man, a very respectful young man, and very appreciative of the opportunity he has to come here.
How did he end up on your radar? How do you find a kid like that?
We were in the hunt for guards. Really around December we started saying, hey, we're probably going to need another point guard, and so we, just kind of looked around and loved the fact that he was a qualifier out of high school and a very intelligent kid. So his coach was tremendous with us, and we were able to get in and get it done.
Back to Chris for a second, but when Jeff starts interviewing for Stony Brook and you're not exactly sure how it's going to play out, what is that like when you're, I assume, talking to Chris about, hey, we might have an opening and you don't know what is going to happen with Jeff? What was that time period like?
Well, it's funny because Chris and I talk all the time, so it wasn't, it wasn't like, hey, Chris, this is Dad, I know I haven't talked to you in 2 years. We talk a lot, so there was nothing out of the ordinary in terms of that, and I'm happy for Jeff in terms of the situation he's in.
Thad, I know you said you haven't sort of divvied up the responsibilities of it, but people know what Chris did when he was here and sort of know his background as a shooting coach and kind of an offensive-minded coach. I'm wondering when you made this decision, if any of it had to do with maybe giving your offense sort of a kickstart if you felt it needed it, and what Chris maybe can help in that regard.
Well, no question about it. I think that Chris has a great basketball mind. He likes offense. He likes the skill instruction, that sort of thing. But Chris is also a guy that will do whatever we need him to do. But I think from the standpoint of getting him back in and just looking at the guys and sort of seeing what his thoughts are, and I've kind of given him a rap sheet in terms of my thoughts on guys, what they have to do, what they need to get better on, and so he'll kind of take it from there and run with us.
And then sort of bouncing back and forth between different topics, but with CJ having signed and not been here yet, is that strange for you? Have you ever had guys?
Yeah, I've had a couple do that, and I think that nowadays in recruiting, nothing surprises me. But like he said, I said to him, I said, CJ, you haven't been to campus yet, and he says, Coach, I've been on the internet. I can tell you everything about your campus, that sort of thing. And so with that said, I didn't have an issue with it.
Dad, you added another guy, Andre late. Yeah, how do you envision him fitting in here? And maybe what did you like about him? I saw him play a couple times in high school. It seems like a guy who can play in multiple positions.
That's what I loved about him. I think this with Andre, I'm very excited to get him. And as we told him, we were probably about as thorough recruiting him as we could possibly be. I love the fact that he went, playing for Westerville South and the job Coach Kalo does. I've been to their practices. He's been coached, and he's got a terrific shot. He can really score the basketball for how tall he is. I was a little bit taken back by the fact that he is, 6'7". Defensively, I think he's going to fall in those lines of guys that can guard multiple positions as well as play multiple positions offensively. You saw him in the state tournament. He's taking charges. He never came out of the game, and just a great kid. And with that said, you can add those type of guys that are hungry to come in here, and that's what excites me about him. That he sees an opportunity and he'll go work for it.
If I could just follow up, just why were you so thorough in were you just evaluating him throughout the process?
Yeah, because we got in kind of late.
Okay.
And, it's funny, like Coach Kalo told me, he said, if you walked in here 4 years ago and says you were recruiting him, I just said that, he's not a college basketball player. And then he just kept getting better, and he just kept getting better, and he just kept getting better. And just watching the growth, when I went in to see him play, I was shocked that it was him. And I think his ceiling is very, very high, and obviously comes from a great family. Keith playing here and that sort of thing, it's a great situation for all of us.
That kind of taking a step back from that, with the guys that left, and how quickly it all happened, and just kind of that situation in general. You've obviously been around this game for a while. Have you seen anything like that, and how did you react when all of this was coming out? We talked to Kate about it yesterday, but I'm just kind of interested in your perspective as the head coach.
Well, it's funny because you guys are definitely the last ones to know. And we usually have a really, really, really good feel of what's going to transpire. I probably could have told you something was going to change and might have been spot on after the Florida game. But I think that's something that, from my perspective, I didn't blink. I want those guys to do well. Hopefully they find great situations for them, and achieve their dreams, their goals. We're appreciative for what they did. But with that said, the train keeps moving, and I think we've had a tremendous spring in terms of a basketball team, in terms of a program of where we're going, and quite honestly, I don't know if I've been this excited about an upcoming season as I am right now.